I imagine it's something to do with this. If you can hear me now, please give me a thumbs up in the chat. You can't hear you, Gary. Yep, you can't hear me. Just hold on. I think it's coming through now. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can now hear me. Yep, no sound. It's all right, don't worry. I think it's coming through now. Just let me know if it's not. Hey, Samuel Parsons. Yep, thumbs up. Yay. Yay. Bloody OBS. I use OBS and I've not used it in ages, as you know, I've not streamed in ages. And yeah. And I forgot to turn something on. Simple as that. Just one thing forgot to turn on. Anyway, let's start again. Welcome to the Big Blue Box live stream. They are back. It feels like forever that we did the last live stream. So welcome everybody. It's good to have you all here. The morning coffee stream. Hope you've all got a cup of tea or coffee. And yeah, I'm aware that some of you are down under, some of you are. It's not morning for some of you. So our friends over at the Doctor Who Show podcast, Sammy Satine, those guys, I'm aware that you're. It's probably not a good idea for you to have coffee if it's quite late. So I don't know if you've got a beer, a glass of wine, or a mineral water, whatever floats your boat. It's good to have you all here. So let's go through who we have got. So it's really cool that at least some of you have showed up. Every time I do one of these live streams, I assume that no one's going to be here. So thank you all so much for turning up. It's really cool. The Doctor Who Show podcast. Welcome, guys. Morning, or evening, I assume. Who else have we got? The Wandering Slovene. Hello, guys. You guys are you sending your reviews to our show over email. Very proper. I like it. Very good. The Silver Cyberman. Welcome. Sebling. Welcome. Who else we got? Sam Parsons. Morning. Joe Turner. I recognise a lot of these names. Sammy Satine. G'day. Sam Parsons. Cool seeing people I recognise from the listens, reviews and the Discord. Yeah, it is. It's very cool. Then we have a big block of Gary, I can't hear you. So, yep. Sorry about that, guys. Joe Turner, welcome. Morning. Who else have we got? C. Maloney, welcome. John Griffiths, welcome. I recognise a lot of these names. It's very cool. My co-host, that cheeky little bastard, Mr. Adam. Geek Sandbag, welcome, dude. Hope you're recovering from the night before, as it were. Isaac Sigmar, welcome. Gallifrey Forever, Reese, good morning, dude. Who else have we got? It's 6 p.m, is it, Sammy? Oh, okay. Doctor Who Show, you've got a beer. Good stuff. Hi, guys. Great to see this. Yeah, it's all good. Who Books, morning. Welcome, Mr. No, sorry. Welcome, Who Books, Mr. You might not be a Mr. Who Books, welcome. Morning. Morning, everybody, from a windy Merseyside. Yeah, John, it's really windy here as well. My mic might pick up the hurricane that is currently outside. Sam Parsons, yeah, we still use email like it's the 90s. Nothing wrong with email, dude. Keep them coming. And Sammy, you've sent in your review already. Very organised. You're always organised, Sammy. It's always 9 times out of 10, you're the first to have your reviews in. So that's all good. So yeah, it's very cool. So there's no agenda for this stream. There's no particular thing to talk about. I just really wanted to get back in the habit of doing something other than the podcast, just because the world of Doctor Who is just so quiet these days. There's not much happening at all, and yeah, it's just really quiet, as you would expect. You know, we're in between series slash seasons at the minute. There's not a lot going on. All we have is rumours and all that jazz. So I love sending my audio review and it gives me something to do. Yeah, cool. Anyone doing anything Who related this weekend? Very good. Sam Parsons is part of the one. Yeah. We read you. We know you guys. Anything Who related this weekend? Yeah, I'm going to carry on watching the special features on the season 8 box set that landed last weekend, which is going to be good. I watched a couple already. Those of you that have listened to this week's podcast show will know that I've watched a couple of those bits already, and I will be watching some more this weekend. I want to watch the behind the sofa stuff. It looks very cool, and also what was the other one? I think it was the I think it was the one that's called A Direct Route, where the directors of that era go around all the filming locations and all that stuff. And so that looks very cool. Right, let me just adjust this because I think this is out of whack. There we go. I should be coming through a little bit loud now. Cool. So who else have we got? You're rewatching The Dominators. Oh, nice. The Dominators. Is that the Quarks? Quarks? I think so. That's a Troughton story, I'm pretty sure, yeah. The Dominators. I watched Delta and the Bannermen. You can't go wrong with a bit of Delta. It's pretty sweet. Watching the new box set, starting Mind of Evil today. Very cool. It's one of my faves. Massive guilty pleasure. Yeah. That's cool. It's a cool story. It's funny. It's very funny. Craving a bit of Pertwee, so I watched Spearhead, and I think I'll just binge his entire... You know what? That's not a bad way to spend a weekend. The Terrence Dicks documentary is great. Yeah, I think you told me about that, dude, on the show when we recorded. That's the Frank Skinner one, I think. I think it's the Frank Skinner one. So yeah, I think most of us, we're here in the UK, we're still officially in lockdown. So we can't go off and do, all the things that, not that we did all the things anyway, every weekend, but we can't go off and do that stuff anyway. So now's the perfect time to be catching up on those things, like watching Blu-rays, having a bit of a movie weekend, just chilling out and doing that stuff. So, yeah, Delta is quality. Yeah, it is quality, Rick. Welcome. Morning, Rick. Rick Moran, everybody, from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society here in the UK. Yeah, it is quality. It's a good, fun watch, Delta. Yes. TARDISnet is here. Been listening to a few of the Paul McGann and Lucy Miller audios. Okay, yeah. Lucy Miller's very cool, actually, on Big Finish. I heard that they're wrapping up the Paul McGann stuff on Big Finish. Is that right? I could be wrong. But I think it's the one that's just come out. I think it's Stranded. I think that's the penultimate Paul McGann story. I could be wrong, but I think so. Yeah. Anyway, morning, everybody. So no agenda for this one. We're just going to shoot the breeze. It's going to be about an hour, and we'll wrap it up about 11-ish. It normally runs a bit longer, but we'll wrap it up about 11-ish here in the UK. I assume that's about 7 p.m-ish for our friends down under, the Doctor Who show, Sammy and whatnot. So last time, in the past live streams, you'd have seen that on the side here, this side, whatever, there's like a little list of stuff that we wanted to get through. Issues, subjects that were quite important to Doctor Who at the time. There's none of that this week. So whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever you want to get our opinions on, I will mostly be speaking for Adam as well, unless he jumps in the chat and says otherwise. I know him pretty well by now. I think I know what his thought is for. I don't want to speak for him, but I think I can roughly speak for him. It depends on the coat. It's 9 p.m. here in the east. Oh, okay. North, east. Okay, yeah. I read you. Earlier in the west. Yeah, I read you. Time zones and all that. Yeah. I see. Yeah, as I said earlier, I wanted to get back into doing the live streams because Adam and I, we still rock and roll on the podcast. We do that every week. And that's great because we get to review anything from Doctor Who, as you guys know. Those of you that listen to the show, you will know that we're very fortunate to have the time to be able to review anything, really, and we rotate those things. We go from modern and classic, Torchwood and Sarah Jane, and we have a cool rotation. Although Sarah Jane's coming to an end very soon. Sad face. But other than that, we don't have anything else really to talk about. We do like a little bit at the beginning where, what have you been up to? Have you done anything Doctor Who related? And all that stuff. But we don't... there isn't much news to cover, and we've stopped doing merch now because... for a couple of reasons, really. We stopped doing merch because we wanted to cut the overall time of the show down a little bit. So we were averaging around 2 hours-ish for the show. And when I was looking at analytics and how people listen to our show and so on, it was really clear that after the hour to hour and a half mark, people were just dropping off towards the end. And then we had some people that were listening to that first bit and stuff and then just scrubbing forward to the review and so on. So in an effort to try and bring the show down a wee bit in terms of length, we cut out merch. And the reason we cut out merch specifically is because I've kind of drifted away from Doctor Who merch over the last couple of years. Those of you that have listened to the show go back to, like, I don't know, 2017, 2018, something like that. Up to that point, I mean, I know Adam still loves his merch and still picks up quite a bit, but we were both buying and picking up Doctor Who merch like every other week. It felt like we were buying like figures or collectibles or, I don't know, t-shirts, sonic screwdriver, barbecue tongs, we were just picking up loads of stuff. But me personally, I've drifted away from it. I just haven't been interested in Doctor Who merch, and I've cut down my collection quite a bit. Have you heard from Dalek Tat? How's he going? I've not heard from him. He's a miserable bastard. In a nutshell, I think he couldn't wait to go, to be honest. He couldn't wait to go, and I've not heard from him. So I was hoping for at least an email or a WhatsApp or something, but very, very miserable. Mark Donaldson, good morning, Mr. Mark. Those of you, you guys know Mark. Runs his own podcast. It's very cool. I think it's called On the Time Lash. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, Mark, if that's wrong. And he also writes for the website, which is very cool. Morning, Mark. And so we cut out the merch because I've drifted away from it a little bit. And in all honesty, in the past year or so, Doctor Who merch has just not really floated anyone's boat, to be honest with you. Back in the heyday, back in the glory days, the peak Doctor Who, when it was at its most popular, you could go into a variety of shops and see lots of Doctor Who stuff. So you'd see like loads of character figures, like going to like Toys R Us or any of those kind of things. Even WH Smith, Costco, loads of places you'd see Doctor Who merch everywhere, and then you'd have like a much bigger range of stuff in the bespoke geek shops like Forbidden Planet and Midtown Comics and all those types of places. You'd have a much bigger Doctor Who range of stuff that you could browse through. And those tongs, Adam, the old barbecue tongs, brilliant. You could go through and browse and look at all that stuff, and it was amazing. But now it's dwindled down. Every year it feels like they just chop it and chop it and chop it to next to nothing. And Adam and I spoke yesterday on this week's show around Funko have now stopped the license with the BBC, so we're not going to get any more Doctor Who Funkos, at least for a while. And that was a really good Funko, as you guys know, is a really big pop culture collectible brand. So without Doctor Who there either now, it's a little bit like, yeah. So for those reasons, we chopped the merch basically. When we brought the show down, it's roughly around an hour and a half-ish now. It's normally about an hour and 20-ish. So that's why we did that. So we're not talking about merch anymore. And then the rest of Doctor Who, the world of Doctor Who is so quiet. There's nothing going on. I just wanted to do something more around just talking with you guys around Doctor Who and seeing what your thoughts are on stuff and everything. And these live streams are the best way, in my opinion, to do that. You can only do so much with tweets and, Facebook posts and all that stuff. So here we are in the live stream. That was a 15-minute reason why we have picked up the live streams once more. And I will get Adam on these as well. Again, he was in a couple of them last year. So the reason why we stopped doing them, by the way, is because just family life for me just changed quite a bit when the pandemic really set in. So prior to COVID and the pandemic and stuff, my wife led a very busy life with her job, and that enabled me to have time in here in my office, like a couple of evenings a week, because she'd be off with work, because she had a very busy job and stuff like that. And when the pandemic hit and we were all grounded and stuff, it was a good opportunity to spend more time with my family, basically. So that's why because I used to do the live streams in the evening here, around about 7 p.m.-ish. And so that was all good. But then, life changed, basically. Everyone's life kind of, for some of us, it didn't affect me too much because my job that I do, my day job, I do that from home anyway in this office, and so it didn't really affect too much. But I would say that most people, it would have had some kind of effect, and for me, it was the ability to do this stuff, really. So when all that stuff was going on, I just wanted to spend time with the fam and all that. So. But now things are slowly getting back to normal. My wife does a fairly intense pole fitness thing on a Saturday, so yeah, it gives me a few hours to do this stuff. And also, I don't, outside of the podcast, I also don't speak to other content creators that often either. So although I listen to a lot of Doctor Who podcasts and then watch a few Doctor Who YouTube channels and so on. I don't chat to many of you guys. It's partly my fault. I don't reach out and say, great podcast or great video and stuff like that. That's just me being lazy, essentially. But, if I can get you guys on here or whatever, then, it's cool. It's cool to talk to other peeps who are doing Doctor Who stuff. So Woolworths used to have all the figures. Oh, dude, Woolworths back in the day here in the UK, Woolworths was a big. Sorry, dude. Yeah, I said fam, didn't I? Oh, that's a no-no. Sorry, mate. Yeah, Woolworths used to be a big old store, and used to be able to buy everything in there, like CDs, video games, and they also did a big range of toys as well as like home stuff and everything. So I wasn't watching or collecting Doctor Who back in those days. We're talking like the 90s, I think. But yeah, Woolworths, man, they used to do it. You're going to miss the Titan figures, Seb. Yeah, the Titan figures are cool, actually. I mean, there's a lot of cool. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool. There's a lot of cool stuff knocking around here and there in terms of Doctor Who merch. It's just not enough to. Yeah, it's just not enough to keep the merch section alive. Basically, it's not enough to. Yeah, we're just really struggling, and we can talk about really small things. So if you go onto the Doctor Who merchandise website, those guys do a really good job of updating it almost every day with new stuff. We can talk about, like, I don't know, there's a pack of Doctor Who coasters that have just come out, or there's a fridge magnet, or there's like Forbidden Planet have done a new T-shirt, Torchwood. We can talk about those things, until the cows come home. But it just doesn't excite. It's just not one of those. It's just not one of those things that are like, oh wow, dude, we've got this amazing bit of merch to talk through. Oh, what's that? Yeah, there's a key ring. Yeah, and it's got K9 on it. Oh, cool. Wow, let's talk about that yeah, cool. And then so that's the kind of reasoning why, we chop merch. Who else have we got in? Let's have a look. Absolutely loving Sarah Jane. I'm watching through the series, but only on series 2. Doctor Who show merch is off the boil with most of fandom at present. Retro nostalgia stuff still holding on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Which I think is why those Blu-ray collection box sets do so well, because it's just like the complete, as the name suggests, it's like the complete collection, a complete package of all of that. Especially if it's your favourite Doctor from back in the day, that's like your main new shiny thing that's got all of that season all wrapped up, and the design's lovely and stuff, as you know, and all that stuff. So but yeah, the nostalgia stuff, definitely. Like we can probably talk for quite a while about Jodie's era and the popularity of her Doctor and her era in particular, which doesn't seem to be resonating with collectors. There just doesn't seem to be. There just doesn't seem to be like this big wave of figures or collectibles or whatever from her era. And on the other side of the coin, you don't have the fan base either, Like we want it. There's just not that need to do it. So definitely the older stuff. Like whenever you see stuff around Ace and like the classic Doctors, and that's, you know, Sarah Jane from yesteryear and all that stuff, you know, fans are all over that, all over it. But then when you put out a new, I don't know, Graham and Yaz figure, everyone's like, I might pick it up, whatever. You get like your hardcore collectors. There are a few collectors that will obviously carry on collecting that stuff. Who's the guy, Adam, that's really into the figures, buys every single one? Is a YouTuber, Ben Lett. So there's a guy called Ben who runs his own YouTube channel about Doctor Who, mainly collectibles and toys and figures. And so you get people like that. They will pick up everything, which is fair enough. But for, I think, sort of the mainstream fandom, it's so you're going to miss the Titan figures. Always wanted some classic villains and companions in Titan form. Yeah, they could have done so much more with that. Just where do you draw the line? You know, they could have gone and done loads with that, guys. Who Books? Yeah, see you later, dudes. Thank you for joining. Sammy Satine, I love the Titan figures, though it does save me money that I can spend on Big Chief. Yeah, see, the Big Chief stuff, that seems really sporadic, though, for me. The Big Chief stuff, it's like once every 2 or 3 years we'll get a new Doctor. And even when I, as a collector myself of other things, not just Doctor Who, and quite like that particular format, I think it's the 6th scale format, which is normally pretty good. I always look at them and think, oh God, from the neck down, they look amazing. But yeah, they never quite seem to nail the face or the head sculpt. But from the neck down, they look fine. But yeah, my co-host, Mr. Adam, are you getting the new Capaldi Steelbook, mate? No. Do you know what, dude? I think I'm just done with. I think I'm just done picking up these Steelbooks, man. Yeah, I just can't. They look really nice and everything, and I've got the first few of them. I might just eBay those first few ones. But I've found that I've got like 3 versions of each series now on the shelf, which is not a bad thing, because some of them, you know, look quite cool. But I don't know. I just can't get my head into these Steelbooks anymore, because I think I've got the first 3 or 4. Can't remember. But yeah, not going to pick up any more, dude. Because I really like the original designs of the box sets I've got on the shelf. Like those original DVD, not even the Blu-rays, the DVD box sets, like especially Series 1 with Eccleston. It's like the TARDIS design and stuff like that. And then I've got each Blu-ray individual series when they released them, I don't know, 4 years ago, which are really nice. And now replacing them, and now we've got like version 3 in the Steelbook. I'm just like, yeah, I've got to prioritize what I'm collecting, you know, and what I'm spending money on. So, no, dude, I'm not going to pick up that one. And I'm probably going to eBay those first few Steelbooks that I've got. Thomas Shaw, good morning, dude. How's season 8 going? Yeah, it's very, very cool. So season 8 is a really good set, that one. They're all nice, don't get me wrong. But this one's really nice. Like on some of them, it's like the design is always nice, everything's cool. But then it's like, yeah, the special features, they haven't got quite as much as like this other one over here, or it might be a bit slimmer and stuff. This one has just got like this. It really is the complete package. Like the design is beautiful from Lee Binding, and the restoration's really good on these ones. Really, really good. Like sometimes you can tell that they overdo it just a tad on like the digital noise reduction or something like that. Whereas this one, they really seem to have got the knack for it now, and they look and sound really good, and the special features is really cool. Host Productions, yeah, that's what it's called. Cheers, Reese. It's Ben Lett. It's the Host Productions YouTube channel. That dude's got so many figures. So I know that people like that, they'll pick up new figures all the time and stuff like that. Who are some of your favourite one-off villains? Do you know what? It's an interesting question, that one. It's good timing, because I'm currently writing a blog post about that. Top five, my top five aliens or monsters that had like one outing and I feel should make a comeback or I thought were very good. But a few of them to kick off would be the Pating. Got you there. Got you. No way, the Pating. Rick Moran says the pterodactyls. Yeah, they're cool. Wouldn't mind a bit more of those guys doing the rounds. We also have the War Machines. Love the War Machines. They're very cool. Who else? I mean, there's a couple of them that have been on screen for a couple of times, not just once. And it'd be cool to have those back. Who are the dudes? I think it's the Troughton story. Adam and I reviewed it not too long ago. They've got like the wispy beards. What were they called? Those guys. Black and white story. Yeah, they seem quite interesting because they had that really good. You kind of had like two layers of communication throughout the story. You had like all the humans doing their thing, but then you had these guys that were like, they could sort of via telepathy talk to each other and stuff like that. And then you had like the infighting and you had like a bit of a rebel thing going on and challenging for power and that sort of thing. Those guys, they would be cool to bring back. Just because you can do some good stuff with those guys. It's not just a big scary monster coming to take over the world and that's it. These guys have got, more stuff going on. So, yeah, we need we need 3 Nymons again. But I suppose the most important question, the Censorites, Reese. Thank you. The Censorites, indeedy, yes. But yeah, Adam, Ultimate Whovian, the important question is, and we all need to answer this question, how many Nymons have you seen today? That's the big question. Ask yourself that. And if you can't answer via singing along, then there's something wrong. But yeah, the Nymons, possibly. Mark Cochran. Morning, Mark. I stopped collecting the figures after Series 6. There's only so much space for Doctor Who tat in an average size house, but I'm all over the collection blur. Yeah. You are absolutely right, dude. That's the reason why 3. Yes, that's the reason why I've stopped collecting as much Doctor Who stuff, just because I've only got so much room in here. I haven't got I've got a big bookcase here, which you can't see, it's off camera, which is a lot bigger than this one. And on this one, it's like, there's a couple of shelves with Doctor Who stuff. It's mainly, like I said, I've trimmed it all down a lot. It's mainly books. I've got quite a few TARDIS collectibles, a bunch of old Big Finish stuff, and some figures. I've got a bunch of Daleks. What else? We got some old, those Mr. Men style classic Doctors. Dalek figures. So I've really sort of trimmed it down. But due to space and all that stuff, 3. Yeah. Anyone that's not seen that video, it's awesome. If you've not seen, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you go to YouTube and just type in how many Nymons have you seen today, solid gold. You won't regret watching that. But if you're the sort of person that suffers with earworm, if you're the sort of person that when you hear a song or music, it gets stuck in your head for a long time, then don't, because it will get stuck in your head. But it's really funny. So thank you. Thank you, Reese. Yeah, the Censorites. I think there's really some cool stuff you can do with those guys, like the manipulation and the infighting and stuff. It would be cool to revisit those. Mark Donaldson, you love the Pating. I know you do, mate. I know you're a fan of the Pating. Here's the thing with a Pating, right? I think the Beeb were hoping that would be more of a thing than what it was. I think that, with Star Wars, when they come out with a cute new little character. So back in the original trilogy days, we had that with the Ewoks, right, in Return of the Jedi. And they knew, because they were so clever with that stuff, they knew that adults, might find it a little bit, what's all this, teddy bears lagging around. But they knew the kids would love it. So they knew that, like, within a few months of the film coming out, there'd be kids running around with Ewoks on their t-shirt, Ewok figures, all that stuff, right? And I think it's a similar thing. I think the BBC were hoping that all the kids that watch Doctor Who were going to be like, oh, I hope there's a Pating plush coming out. I hope there's a Pating t-shirt. I hope there's a Pating, thing coming out. Because although he's a little bit scary, he's really cute as well. And we'd love that. But it just ended up falling flat. So that's my take on the Pating. I'm being very negative about that. I'm aware of that. I'm sorry. But I know you like it, Mark. I know you like the Pating. But yeah. Sorry to make you spit your coffee out, dude, about the Pating. But yeah, that is not going to appear on my list of top 5 monsters or aliens that should come back. Defo not. Yeah, go and check out the Crotons, Rick. The Crotons, yeah, man. Might get the Crotons back. I'm saying it like I'm in charge, obviously. But yeah, we might get the Crotons. Well, we probably won't, but I would like to see them back. Defo. Oh, get your nose this morning. The Mercer. Bring back the monoids. You could do. Same with the Merca, you could do. The only thing is that you'd have to be careful with updating the design of these things. So Adam and I have spoken at length many times around the Cybermen and their constant redesigns and how they look and stuff, in the modern era of Doctor Who versus the classic era. They've addressed this a little bit. We did go down memory lane, didn't we, with the with Bill Potts, that little mini era of Cybermen stuff, and we had the old Mondasian thing. So we've done that a little bit, but on the whole, the Cybermen just look really bad in modern Doctor Who. And I think what they did, I think the designers, and it's clear to see, is that when you see the success of some other franchise that's doing that kind of thing, you tend to lean into that because it's very popular in the minds of everybody. So when you see the Marvel universe and what they do with the Iron Man design and the Iron Legion and all that kind of thing, it's a bit like apples and oranges in a way, because you've got the designers at Marvel and Disney and stuff that have got, lots of monies, and they've got the time and money to spend and get the best people in the world to do that stuff. With Doctor Who, the chat is funny. With Doctor Who, great designers, don't get me wrong, but they tend to kind of lean into things that are popular. So I feel like with the modern age, the modern Cybermen stuff, it's I felt like they lent more towards the Marvel Iron Man Stark kind of thing. So in a way, it's not bad. They end up looking like really modern and sleek and contemporary, but it just doesn't do it for Adam and I especially. It's it just doesn't work. So with the monoids and the Merca and the Centaurites to a degree and those sorts of old classics, if they were to bring them back, it would be great, as long as they were written well, of course, and it was a good story. They also run that danger of, do we keep them and they look exactly like they did back in the day for fear, or is it like, or do we need to update them so that they look more modern and would fit in the tone of the show and whatnot? Because I guess the fear is you've got two camps to please, right? You've got the old... not the old people. You've got the more mature generation of Doctor Who fans that love, for nostalgic reasons, those old aliens and stuff like that. And then if you redesign them and bring them back, you upset those people because it's like, nah, that's not the monoids that I remember and love. What are they doing? They've destroyed it. It's ruined it. Bosh. And then that's it. You're in trouble. But then you also have to please the other camp of like the newer generation of Doctor Who fans coming up who want that more modern design and stuff like that. And if they don't get that, they're like, oh, this looks old fashioned. You know, it looks like the old black and white Doctor Who is rubbish. So they're in a difficult position with that stuff. I do get it. But yes, some of these suggestions you guys have got are awesome. Luke Malloy. Good morning, dude. Good morning. I've got such an itchy nose this morning. I'm sorry, guys. You're just looking at me like, nyeh. Let's go back a wee bit. The remix is a tune. Yes, it is, Adam. Definitely. Once again, if you guys haven't seen the How Many Nymons, go on YouTube that. It's very funny. Sammy, Gary, have you seen the Big Chief Delgado master figure? Because even your co-host Adam, who doesn't collect them, was impressed with that one. I've seen it. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. I think, Adam, you said something else about the Big Chief stuff, didn't you, up here somewhere? You said something like, yeah, with Big Chief. I think you said something like they announce them and then we don't get a figure for years. Yeah, man, it's that's the thing. Doctor Who show, Doctor Who men look creepy. They look like naked blokes wearing shoes. You're right. You're right. Let's check this out. So, fourth Doctor, completely but naked. Completely naked. Other than scarf and shoes and a hat. Some people pay for that. First Doctor, naked. But I think with Mr. Men, it's like the cute factor, right? They're not going for the, oh, naked. I think they're going for the cute factor. Hartnell looks pretty cool, though. It's got that grumpy, like, Pretty good. So, yeah, but you are right, though. They do look a bit creepy. Joe Turner, the Pating was Chibnall's attempt to copy the adipose by making a creature purely for merch sales. Yes, you are correct. Sammy, didn't Russell say once he wanted to bring back the Crotons? I don't know, probably. I know he's a fan of the Crotons, so probably. Mark, they should visit the planet of the Pating. No, they shouldn't. I love you, Mark, but no, they shouldn't. No. We need a Bok comeback. You are absolutely correct with that one, dude. Bok is on the list, on the blog post, definitely. Bok should make a comeback. He's a cheeky little one, isn't he? He's in John Pertwee's back garden. Probably is. Bok, could we get Kate to say chat with wings 5 rounds rapid? I'd be disappointed if they didn't do that, Sammy. Doctor Who show, Clockwork Robots, Gods of Ragnarok, The Celestial Toy Maker, Dream Lord. Yes, I know some of these have returned in non-TV eps. They have, but a couple of them would be cool, though. So, the Gods of Ragnarok, should I say, sorry. They'd be cool. Because seeing as they're gods, they were defeated pretty easily. And they really need to work on not being so distracted. Like, if a dude turns up in a hat and starts playing the spoons, then, and you get distracted by that, then, yeah, you got short attention span. Need to sort that out. But that'd be cool. And the Celestial Toymaker. Yeah, for sure. So these things, they could be done really well. It's really down, isn't it? As we all know, it's really down to the writers to nail that vibe and look and feel, and how they implement it into the modern stuff. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, the danger is: do you just sort of lift them up exactly as they were and plop them into Modern Who and just hope it works, or do you redesign them a little bit? Do you bring them up to speed with like modern, TV and filmmaking? It's a tough one, man. It is a tough one. The Merca should have the CGI update on the season 21 box set. What about a new Candyman battling Jodie in the series 13 finale? The Candyman. Yeah, why not? Why not? there have been worse things than the Candyman in modern Doctor Who. So why not? I'm just tweeting out 1 second. Yeah, so yeah, I mean the Candyman can. Let me just copy this. I'm just letting people know that we are live. Because if you don't tell them, they don't know. Yeah, the Candyman, possibly the Sea Devils. See, the Sea Devils, this is a thing that's like a difficult one because it falls into that teeny weeny little niche thing of some things are just well left well alone. And I feel like the Sea Devils are that thing. It's a bit like the Weeping Angels in modern Who. We're right on the cusp of if they start using them again and, you know, keep bringing them back, then you run into that risk of like they were this cool thing that was just in Doctor Who every now and then to now just being like the Daleks or the Cybermen or whatever. Now they're just like this thing that's just in Doctor Who. So I feel like the Sea Devils, dude, fall into that little camp where, yes, it would be good to see them again, of course, because they're a really good classic monster, but a part of me feels like just leave those alone. And there's a couple of monsters or aliens like that. So yeah. The 12th Doctor, Mr. Men, is a block of cheese from memory. Yeah, it's like Red Leicester cheese, dude. Red Leicester. I think the first Doctor, if we're talking about cheese, I think the first Doctor is like... he's not the colour of cheese that I would eat. Put it that way. And I like cheese. I like a bit of the old cheese. But I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't eat the Doctor. Yeah, that sounds weird. I would not eat that. Sure. John Pertwee stole the polystyrene box prop and put it in his garden. True story. No doubt in that, dude. Sounds like something old cheeky Pertwee would do. Hendrix Chaplin. Morning, dude. Bring back the Mentor. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Could bring back the Mentor. Dr. Isho, love the Perts. Yeah, got to love the Perts. Mark Cockram, bring back J.R. Southall. Perhaps he could regenerate from his at times gruff exterior to a more cuddly and avuncular figure. I sense there's a bit of you're throwing a bit of shade here, Mark. I think a bit of shade throwing going on. TARDIS now, I think the meddling monk could really work as a reoccurring character rather than just constantly bringing the master back. The meddling monk was cool. Is that a Troughton story? I'm pretty sure that was Troughton. Cool character though. Yeah, that'd work. Joe Turner, I feel Doctor Who needs to create a new villain that becomes iconic like the Daleks and Cybermen to relieve pressure from those monsters and try and bring in a new audience. See, I think they've tried to do that, Joe. I really feel like they've tried to come up with stuff, especially in Series 11. I feel like they've tried to do that. But the problem is, well, there's not one problem, but one of the problems is you need a bit of luck with that, I would say. Because a lot of science fiction franchises over the years, they've all come up with their, various ranges of monsters and aliens and all that stuff. And only a couple of them stick and stick around. And I think Doctor Who have tried to do that. I think the closest they got was probably to something that really sticks and is a recognisable thing that I wouldn't say is iconic, but sort of ventures into that, is probably like the Silence, maybe. They marketed that very well, and they wrote a very good alien. They're very mysterious and they were very scary looking. So people probably some people love watching that stuff. So those kind of things, they kind of stick around. But then you have other things that they try and do and they just don't stick, So yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. And I think you need a bit of luck with that stuff, which I think is why the Weeping Angels works so well to begin with, because you had this scary thing, a bit like the Silence. They were very scary, very mysterious. And it's like the opposite to like the Daleks and the Cybermen, right? We know everything about them. We know their history, the Time War, different kinds of Daleks and Cybermen. We know there's like a real in-depth whole vault worth of information about that stuff. Whereas the Weeping Angels, only from what the Doctor tells you in little snippets and those stories, then you don't really know too much else about them. And that's what made them iconic, because of those things and because Doctor Who was really popular and they happened to land in a very good story. You had a bit of luck on your side, all the stars sort of aligned for that sort of thing. But then you get other monsters and aliens that just don't land, and I think the BBC wanted them to, but they just don't stick around because the story wasn't that good or the writing just didn't hit home and stuff like that. So you are right, we do need, I think we do need a new thing, a new sort of top level alien or monster that's on the same kind of popularity level as like the Master and the Daleks and stuff like that. But it's just so difficult. It's so difficult to do that. And there are other reasons involved, but namely, I just don't feel like the writers are consistent enough in the last 2 or 3 series, maybe 4 series of Doctor Who. So I don't know. It's a big subject, that one, but defo. BBF1, good morning. Hello, Gary. Good morning. Tom Shaw, the Monk and the Master. Geeks Handbag ad says, I'm waiting for Chibnall to invent a cool new villain, but is he capable? Yeah, it's the thing. I don't feel like Chibbers is the dude to do that. I don't think he can do that. So I think we're a showrunner away from maybe having a decent monster again. Sammy says, yeah, but we haven't seen the Sea Devils for years. They've not become the Cybermen. Well, that's the thing, Sammy. When you bring it back, it's like, you could bring them back. You definitely could bring them back. But you will always come up against. You'll always have Doctor Who fans that will say, even before they've even seen the episode, you always have Doctor Who fans that will say they'll never be as good as the original. Before they've even seen the story, they'll be like, nope, they will never be as good as the original. And then you have other fans that are like, well, that was really cool, and I actually prefer these to the older things, and that's opinion. That's very cool, because the last thing you want, and Adam knows, I'm not a fan of this. The last thing you want is people to be indifferent. I hate that. You'd hate the Doctor Who audience to be like, so what do you think to the Sea Devils? And they're like, take them or leave them. That's the last thing you want. You either want good discussion and debate around that. You don't want people being dicks to each other. We certainly don't want that. But you certainly want people to be like, yeah, I really like the Sea Devils. These new ones, they look very cool and the story was good. Then you want classic Who fans or people that don't like them, like, yeah. I really like the old ones. These new ones are a bit sucky. Like Adam and I are about the Cybermen. You just don't want people being indifferent. And I feel that Doctor Who now, the way it's written and the way just the show is made, I feel like that's what would happen. It would be, we're bringing back this big, iconic, popular monster from back in the day, but the actual story and the characters just fall a little bit flat and inconsistent. And then you end up with a story that's like, should have been amazing because the Sea Devils are back, but the writing's not strong enough to make it a good story. So that's why I feel just leave those big, important monsters be. All right, just let them be until you have a much better writing team that could pull it off. That's my thought. Cameron Gribbons, good morning. Just wondered how you tackle classic Who as someone who watched New Who first. How would you tackle it? Well, there's a couple of ways, really. you can just go back and start watching it from the beginning. So go back to episode 1, An Unearthly Child, start there and just make your way. It'll take you a long time, but just make your way through each Doctor, each era, until you get up to the Doctor Who movie. That's one way. Just chronologically dive in at the deep end and just watch it from the beginning. Or just go on YouTube and just do a Google search for each Doctor. So just do Doctor Who, William Hartnell best bits. And just do that for each Doctor. And then find out which Doctor you like. If you watch each of those 7 or 8 Doctors in the classic years and you feel like, oh yeah, Troughton actually looks really cool. Or Peter Davison, I like this sort of thing. And pick out a couple of Doctors that you like the look of, and then go and seek out their episodes, sign up to BritBox or pick up some DVDs. They're really cheap these days, and dive in that way. But overall, I would say just do something, because we get asked this question an awful lot. And what generally happens is you get people that talk about wanting to watch Classic Who, but never actually do it. They spend a lot of time researching and planning and asking questions and getting thoughts and opinions on people. And they've done that for days, weeks, maybe months. And then at the end, it's like you catch up with that person in 6 months' times, maybe like, so what bit of Classic Who did you dive into? Like, oh, I haven't yet. I'm still deciding. Just whichever approach you take, just do it. Just start something. Even if you have to close your eyes, even if you have to write out the list of Doctors and close your eyes, wave your finger and stop. Right, I'm going to watch a story from that Doctor today. Once you start watching it, you're off. That's then the snowball. So I would say, Cameron, don't spend too much time talking and asking people's opinions. Just dive in and start watching something from Classic Who. So either from the beginning, or just do a bit of quick research on YouTube, watch a couple of clips from each Doctor, find out which one resonates with you, which you like the look of, and then dive into their stories. But just start watching something is what I would say. Joe Turner says, the Weeping Angels are really iconic, as my friends, when I talk about Who, always say about their memories of the week. Yeah, that's what we were saying. It's like sometimes you have a bit of luck involved and you hit the mark where you have a really good alien or monster in the show. You have a really good story behind it. And it's really surprising, that one, because it was a Dr. Light story. But Sally Sparrow was such a good character, and everything just sort of lands nicely and fits together. And you end up with an iconic monster. It's very cool. Who else have we got? Thomas Shaw. What Star Wars character would you like in Doctor Who? Crikey, a bit of a crossover. Didn't Doctor Who do a crossover with Star Trek? Wasn't that in the comics? Pretty sure there was a Titan comic or another comic run where the Doctor, might have been Matt Smith's Doctor, turned up on the Enterprise. So it has been done. But in terms of Star Wars, what character would I like to see in Doctor Who? Wowzers, that's put me on the spot. I'd probably say an old Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi. That would be very cool, because he's like but back in the OT, the old Obi-Wan Kenobi is like that old kind of wizard, mysterious sort of character. So they could do something very cool with an old Obi-Wan. And it would really intrigue the Doctor as well. Like the idea of the Force, that would really, I think that would be like, because I don't think the Doctor's encountered anything like that in their travels thus far. Because it's kind of that thing, isn't it, with Doctor Who? It's like, we've seen it a couple of times in the McCoy era, excuse me, where you kind of start to merge the lines a little bit between science fiction, the sciencey stuff, and magic. So I think maybe the Force would be perceived as that magical side of things in science fiction, but who knows? But yeah, I think an old Obi-Wan would be very cool. They could have made something of the Rani in New Who. It's an absolute no-brainer. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, the Rani. That's a missed opportunity for sure. Or if you listen to our podcast, Adam calls Rani from Sarah Jane the Rani anyway, so she's as good as back. Imagine if Chibnall's tuned in and is watching this. Joe, I know for a fact that he's tuned in and is watching this. Morning, Chris Chibnall. Good morning. Tom Shaw, Sammy Satine, we need a new showrunner. Yes, we do. Mark Cockram. The old series struggled at this too. The Mechanoids, the Zarbi, the Chumbleys, the guys in wetsuits from Keys of Marinus, were all meant to be the next big thing after the Daleks. Yeah, man. But that's they just didn't adhere to they weren't lucky enough to land that formula. That's the thing. It's like those old iconic monsters that did very well. They had help. They didn't just turn up and land in the show and that was it. They were just iconic from that point on. They had all these other ingredients around them. So the great characters, the writing, the overall story concept. All the stars aligned, and then from then on, people remember those things. So, yeah, I read you. They did. They tried to do it, and they still try and do it today, but it's very difficult. The Classic 80s fanboys, good name. Chibnall is no Moffat. He's only interested in his opinions. No one else is. Yeah, I'm afraid you're not wrong there. Rick Moran can't go wrong with anything written by Robert Holmes. I think you're talking about the other question about where to get into Classic Who. Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it either. You can also look at certain eras in Classic Who that were grouped together by a certain script editor or a certain writer. So Robert Holmes' era is very, very cool. Joe Turner, when I was younger, I watched my dad's old Doctor Who videos that he bought in the 90s, and that's how I got into Classic Who. I just watched random ones alongside the modern. Yeah, that's a good way to go. The other way to do it, and this is a shameless plug, the other way to do it is to listen to our podcast classic reviews. And I think for the first couple of years that we did the show, we were doing a mix of classic and modern Who when it was being broadcast. But now we do a rotation where we do like classic, Torchwood, new Doctor Who, Sarah Jane, that kind of thing. So if you just go to our website and just do a search for like An Unearthly Child, you'll find our review, and then just go through and follow our classic reviews. We don't do them in order. Like one week it's that, the week after it might be a Davison or Tom Baker or whatever. So shameless plug, go back and listen to our classic ones and just follow our reviews, because we're about 2/3 of the way through all of Classic Who with our reviews, or maybe 3/4 of the way. And just follow us. Yep, and just follow us and see what you think. Do we agree with you? That kind of thing. Or, shameless plug aside, just go and find other Doctor Who podcasts. Go and find, our friends, The Doctor Who Show is here today. They do a very, very good podcast that covers all of, just go and seek out them. There's a couple of other really good Doctor Who podcasts that do that stuff as well. So go and find other content creators that have reviewed or talk about Classic Who and follow their way into it as well. Tom Shaw, are you going to do Class review? Oh, Tom, we've already done it, mate. We already did Class while it was being broadcast. And yeah, it was not a happy time on the show. That's all I'm going to say. It wasn't a happy time for us. The coffee's gone cold. Yes, it wasn't good. And I think, people ask us that all the time. They say, so what did you think to Class? What did you think to this? Blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I can't tell if they're joking or not, because long-time listeners of the show, they might be like, we know that you don't like Class, but we're going to wind you up anyway. But then people might genuinely think, do you think Class is good? Now, talking about Class is that takes a whole other live stream dedicated to that, or a whole podcast show or whatever. But in a nutshell, yeah, Class just completely missed the mark unfortunately. Yeah. Doctor Who show, you're very kind. No, you're welcome. No, it's the Doctor Who show is one of my regular listens. I used to listen to loads of. I tried to listen to all of the Doctor Who podcasts that I could back in the day. Some of them have stopped. Some of them have trailed off a bit. And I think there's only 4 or 5 that I listen to now, and the Doctor Who show is one of them. So yeah, whoever asked that question up here, I think it was Cameron Gribbons. Yeah, yeah, the Doctor Who show is another good one. On the Time Lash is available on all good podcatchers. Yeah. So on the Time Lash, Adam was actually asking me about that the other day, Mark. He was like, what's Mark's podcast? I need to check it out. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's called On the Time Lash. So that's another one. There's about half a dozen good Doctor Who podcasts these days. Although there are lots of them, there's only about half a dozen that I would say. Me personally, that I listen to still. Rick Moran, like episode 1 of Class is awful. Episode 2, hell, every episode of Class is awful. Yeah, it's yeah. And Adam's like, yeah, we lost the will to live reviewing Class. Yeah, it just wasn't a good time for us, man. It was yeah. And it's a shame because we were really up for it as well. We were like, oh cool, we haven't had a Doctor Who spin-off in like whenever Torchwood had stopped. It's like, we haven't had a decent Doctor Who spin-off. It's going to be awesome. And the concept sounded okay. You know, it sounded cool. I mean, it was aimed at like a fairly young audience, I guess. But that's not a bad thing at all. You know, Adam and I loved Sarah Jane Adventure. We love the Sarah Jane Adventures. And that's aimed at a much younger audience. So that's not a bad thing. But you can just tell that they were trying to be a bit hip and a little bit, yeah, I don't know. Oh, God, we can talk about Class and stuff for ages, but yeah, basically avoid Class. Basically. TARDISnet, unpopular opinion, I like Class. Well, that's cool, man. Look, I'm not going to bash anybody if they like Class. If you liked Class and you enjoyed it, then fair play, man. That's very cool. It's just not something that Adam and I would recommend, that's all. Based on our own thoughts and stuff like that. But well, I would never say to anybody, absolutely don't watch it, like you're banned from watching it. If you want to give it a watch, man, then go for it. Give it a watch. It's just not something that we would recommend. That's all. Right. Yeah, hell, every episode is awful. We lost the will to live. We certainly did. Class got really good / weird in the second to last episode, and the final episode set up a Weeping Angel invasion of Earth, which I think would have been great. Yeah, it would have. Well, it certainly would have helped, but then all you would be doing then is just bringing the Weeping Angels in to be a crutch for a poor show. So yeah, on one hand, it would have been cool. The concept is good, but I feel like it just would have been like the people running the show, the BBC people and whatnot, looking at the review scores and sort of the popularity scores and all that stuff. They would have just looked at it like, you know, Class is doing badly. We need to draft in something to prop this up and get it going. I think that something like the Angels would have been more of a crutch rather than a good companion to the story, right? And I feel. Luke Malloy says, and Lost on Gallifrey. Yes, of course. Lost on Gallifrey. Those guys are really cool. Big Lost on Gallifrey fan. Yeah, it's a very cool show. Like I said, there's half a dozen that I listen to now, and those guys are one of them. Two guys talking about, they're very cool. Very cool show. Sammy Satine, having Capaldi appear in episode 1 of Class was a huge mistake. A huge mistake. Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah. I feel like they should have tried to have stood on their own feet for a while. And we keep getting dragged down this Class thing. So the main thing for me around Class is that, yes, the Capaldi cameo was cool. It was just wham bam, that's it. You're in the world of Doctor Who because you've seen the Doctor and that's it. He maybe should have appeared in it mid-series, or in the finale perhaps, and referenced other Doctor Who stuff along the way. Because the biggest thing for me, and I feel like the biggest reason why Class failed, is because it says it's in the world of Doctor Who, but it could have easily been any generic science fiction based show. If you took the Doctor Who label away and took the Capaldi cameo out of it, you could have just gone ahead and done, your own science fiction, like a new IP, basically. So it should have stood on its own 2 feet, built up its own thing, referenced more things from Doctor Who along the way, and then bring in your cameo, like they did with Sarah Jane and Torchwood. Run your own thing for a while and then bring in your cameos. So it took a while for Sarah Jane before the Doctor turned up. Sarah Jane had already established herself and the show as a decent, solid show. It didn't rely on the Doctor. It was just an added benefit. And the same with Torchwood, when like Martha turns up and that kind of thing. It didn't need the characters. It was just an extra cool thing to have in it. Whereas Class, it felt like, oh my God, it really needed that, because without it, you wouldn't have known it was a show about Doctor Who, really. So, yeah, that's my feelings on Class. I'm not going to talk about Class anymore, because I'm going to wrap the stream up in around 5-10 minutes-ish. Simon Hodgson. Morning, Simon. Says, I love Verity, Radio Free Scaro, and The Moment, as well as you guys. So I don't listen to Verity anymore. I used to listen to that ages ago. Radio Free Scaro, I kind of drift in and out of that one. I think it's a good podcast. Don't get me wrong, it is a good podcast. But yeah, I just find there's like a month or two on the bounce where I'm just not feeling the show, and then I'll come back into it, and then for a couple of months I'll be like, yeah, okay, this is cool. So I kind of drift in and out of Radio Free Scaro. But yeah, they're certainly they are certainly the biggest Doctor Who podcast in terms of number of shows, viewing figures, and the people that they have on the show and that kind of thing. They're a big force. But yeah, I just drift in and out. The Moment, I've only listened to a few of those, but it was pretty cool. Yeah, and obviously you listen to us, of course. Go check out the Doctor Who show as well. And the other ones that I mentioned in here. The 3 that have been mentioned in here are the ones that I listen to. So go and check them out. The Doctor Who show, On the Time Lash, Lost on Gallifrey. Go and check those out as well. Simon, very cool. Yeah, it's like wham bam, thank you, man. Yeah, it's like there's Capaldi, there's your cameo. Now go and try and go and try and make what you can of the world of Doctor Who without talking about Doctor Who or showing anything from Doctor Who, other than like a passing little reference here and there. There we go. So, and a couple of people have also said, yo, when are we going to have, like, when are you going to re-review or re-look at Class? It's like, no, we're not going to re-look at Class. Now, the one thing I will say is that we had quite a few people that said, I didn't like Class, but the Big Finish story of Class is actually very good. So I might check that out at some point. I've not listened to the Class stories that they did at Big Finish. So I might check that out. If I've literally got nothing else to listen to or nothing else to watch, I might do. But I remember a few people that were in the same camp as us that said, yeah, Class is rubbish. Then they listened to the Big Finish, like, actually, Big Finish have done a decent job. So maybe listen to that. But otherwise, yeah, Class is not something that we would recommend. No. And the thing is with Class, like, even with all the other content that's available across Doctor Who, Torchwood and Sarah Jane, even the bad episodes, even the ones that didn't really resonate with you, you can still remember them to a degree. You might not remember every single detail, but you can still remember the vast majority of things that you watched. Especially when you start talking about it as well. So when Adam and I talk about a show on the podcast that we haven't seen in years, you still remember bits about it. And then when you talk about it, other things come up and you're like, oh yeah, that bit. With Class, I don't remember anything about I don't remember anything about the majority of Class. I remember what the characters look like. I don't know their names. I've forgotten their names. I remember one of the aliens or monsters was like the big fiery dude with the sword. I can't remember what he was called or what the race was called. I remember one episode about the flowers attacking people. And that's pretty much it. I remember them sitting in a classroom a few times, and that's it. That is it. I know a lot of people are like that as well. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm the same. It's like, I watched Class last week and I don't remember what happened. I can't remember this conversation. So that's the thing with Class. It's, and if you like it though, like I said before, if you're a fan of Class and you like it, then cool, man. You crack on and that's all good. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way at all. I sincerely mean that. If you like Class, if it's your bag, then rock on with that. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, but it's just not a cup of tea. How do you feel about Doctor Who beating The Mandalorian in the Radio Times Awards? Well, dude, for me, that's cool, because in my life, my two biggest loves of science fiction in the world of TV is Doctor Who. And in the world of film and movies, it's Star Wars. I know The Mandalorian is TV, but overall, like Star Wars is my love of science fiction in the world of films. Doctor Who is the TV thing. So I know that we're venturing into TV with Disney Plus and all that stuff. But how do I feel about Doctor Who beating? Well, that's cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you kind of expected that as well, being the Radio Times and being, in cahoots with the BBC to a degree and all that stuff. You kind of expect that with The Mandalorian. So it's cool. I mean, The Mandalorian, let's not, it was amazing. The Mandalorian, I'm not going to lie. And in my opinion, it far outweighed in terms of the quality of storytelling and everything. Was like leagues, miles ahead of the last season or two. Bollocks. It was miles ahead of the last series or two of Doctor Who, in my opinion. Miles better. Tom Shaw, no question, Doctor Who is the best. Simon Hodgson, I never even finished Class. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that, man. A lot of people that were sort of halfway through the series and they were like, I just can't do it. Cannot do it anymore. Sammy Satine. Also, if anyone is short of Doctor Who stories to watch, read or listen, that's new. Big Finish are just tossing them out at the minute. Yeah, so Big Finish are going through a bit of a change up at the minute. So they're really doubling down on their digital stuff. It seems like every year the physical releases get less and less, and it's sorry, I'm reading the chat. The physical releases seem to be getting less and less and less. The digital stuff seems to be getting more, but they also seem to be doing more sales at the minute. So when lockdown first happened, we had this weekly thing where they'd put out like a free story, or a couple of chapters for free to everybody. And now they're starting to sell off sales of like the earlier stuff. And now they're doing these warehouse sales where they've got this website now. I've forgotten the link. I'll tweet it out if I remember or find it. But they're doing this thing where they'll go to the warehouse and be like, right, we've got 19,000 boxes of this box set. That's going to be half price. That one's going to be half price. So you get the feeling that they're really sort of getting their house in order and spring cleaning all of the recent stuff. And I think the monthly range is coming to an end soon. Any of you that are in the chat that listen to Doctor Who more regularly than I do on Big Finish and know more about that stuff, I think I'm right in saying that. The recent Peter Davison story, The Blazing Hour, I think it was called, I think that's the penultimate monthly range, I think. So I think after that, they're just going to focus on box set stories and they're going to ditch the monthly range. So yeah, you're right, Sammy. Big Finish, they've always got a sale on of something and they're pushing stuff. But yeah, they're going for a bit of a change up at the minute. And I think within the next few years, Adam will hate this, but I think the only physical releases will be like special editions. Let's see if I can find one. So All right, it's up there somewhere. So, they do those like book format, slightly larger special edition ones. I think they will be the only physical editions that will come out. Everything else will just be digital. I'm pretty sure, because every year they seem to chop the number of physical releases. So it's inevitable, I think, that the digital is going to just be their sort of distribution platform of choice, and the physical CDs will be limited to those limited number special edition box sets. Geeks, I don't think it's awesome. Mandalorian is miles better than current Who, no comparison. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of the reasoning why Doctor Who didn't win, I don't agree with, but I'm still happy because it's Doctor Who, if that makes sense. Doctor Who show, Big Finish seems to be clearing inventory and going largely digital, yet with CDs made in very limited numbers in the future compared to what they've done in... Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what I was saying. It's they seem to be clearing out, because when you think about physical stock these days, it's just very expensive to do. The actual logistics of getting a CD printed is not expensive, really. But you still have to pay somebody to do the booklet cover art and the booklet design. You have to go to a company and say, right, I want 10,000 of these made, along with the CD printing and the CD creation process. In bulk these days, that's not really too expensive. But what is expensive is having all of those sitting in a warehouse not being sold. That is expensive. So from a business decision, that makes perfect sense, because it'd be nuts like if Apple or Spotify said, we're going to start selling physical CDs. Everybody would be like, what? Why would you do that? So it's like the reverse for Big Finish. Like, I'm 100% certain that if Big Finish launched yesterday, it would be digital only. Absolutely. 100%. It would be a digital only streaming platform. But because they've been going for so many years when physical media was a thing, then, that's why they've got that stock still. So when you've got a warehouse full of physical CDs, that in itself is expensive. So that's why they clear out and they try and get rid of it all and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I agree with you, Doctor Who show. It's it will be very, very limited numbers for CDs moving forward. Simon, sadly, had to sell all my physical Big Finish. It's just a nightmare to store it all. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming up to that point now, dude. I'll be honest with you. And again, Adam's going to hate me for saying that, but yeah, it's. I'm just looking at the shelf now, and I've got 2 or 3 bookshelves, and they're all Doctor Who books, and the top shelf is Big Finish CDs and stuff. But I could make a lot better use of that space, because all of those physical releases I've got for Big Finish, I have in my Apple Music library. And I've also got them duplicated. I've got them in my, what used to be Google Music is now YouTube Music. I've got them duplicated in there as well. So yeah, although then, I look up at the shelf now and then like, oh yeah, it's cool. Got all that Big Finish. I will probably end up doing that, I think, within the next year, just to make room on the shelf for other stuff. So yeah, man, I think Big Finish are going to go that way for sure. What else have we got here? Sammy Satine, I love my Big Finish CDs. Will be very sad when they are rarely released. Yeah, I think it's going to happen, Sammy. Doctor Who show, I've kept just 8th Doctor Big Finish. Okay, that's cool. That is very cool, actually. Having all the McGann stuff. Oh, McGann. Yeah, McGann stuff. Mark Cockram, COVID has sped up the changeover to pure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's another thing, man. With people not being able to spend as much money on stuff. Because I don't think you could go into a shop and physically buy Big Finish outside of Forbidden Planet anyway. Like the odd geek shop like Forbidden Planet and that kind of thing. They stock a fairly small bit of Big Finish, but I think overall it's more of a cost thing as well. So during the pandemic, if money's a bit tight, if your job's been affected, or just, you have to tighten up your finances and stuff like that. If you bought, say, 10 Big Finish physical releases and that cost you £100, But if you bought them digitally for £70, you know, that's a saving that you can't ignore. So Luke Malloy, I can't imagine spending 20 odd quid on Big Finish and not getting something physical. It'd have to be a hell of a set for me to not get it on physical. Yeah, I mean there is that, but the thing is, Luke, it's like you can't run a company based on the wants and needs of a small group of people. That's just business suicide, you know. So I imagine, I would love to be a fly on the wall, but I imagine in the meetings that they have at Big Finish, like the board level and the senior management stuff, where they talk about these things, and I'm sure they talk about it regularly, very regularly. I can't imagine that they would sit there and say, you know, sales have been strong this month. It's all very good. The majority of people picking up the digital, it's all good. But we have George in Inverness that, you know, gave us a scathing thing online because, you know, he couldn't get the CD, or this person down here. So let's just continue doing, you know, it's not, unfortunately, that's just not the way it's going to go. So it's just not good business sense to keep doing that. Unfortunately for the people like you and Adam and stuff like that love the CDs, it's sad times, man. The app is very good. It's like carrying your collection. Actually, that's a good point. So although there's a huge amount of Big Finish on Spotify, remember that Big Finish do their own app where you can purchase and listen to stuff there. And it's actually pretty good. They've done a few revisions of it over the last year or so. And it's pretty decent. It's not too bad. Hendrix Chaplin, so much Big Finish content on Spotify. Yeah. They've got a bunch of stuff on there now. Luke, ironically, I listen to them all on the app. So you're like Adam, my co-host Adam. He's exactly the same. He's one of these guys where, and we all do it to a degree, where he'll buy Big Finish, but he'll listen to it like, you know, on the app on his phone or something like that. But he just loves having the CD to look at on the shelf. So it's like bragging rights when your mates come over or you're on social. It's like, yeah, check out the shelf. It's like, but when's the last time you actually physically took a CD off the shelf and then you went to put it somewhere and realised, I don't have a CD player? Bummer. Other than in my car. And even they're going out of fashion relatively quick. Right, I'm just going to put this CD back on the shelf. As you were, everyone, ignore me. I'm just going to open up the Big Finish app and stream that to my smart speaker or whatever it is. That's the kind of thing that's like, you know, and that's probably why Big Finish themselves are going down the route of digital, because, you know, they're not silly. They're aware of all this stuff. They're aware of what people's listening habits are and what tech is available and what's popular these days. So, yeah, it makes sense. G. Smith, hi Gary, with the release of the Series 8 Steelbook only a month away, do you think the next releases should be just the same artwork or new? As I'm not sure if I would double dip. The release of the Series 8 Steelbook only a month away, do you think the next release should just be the same? Do you mean like after the Steelbooks have come out, are they going to release them again in years to come? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean Series 9 after Series 8? Double dipping's it's a tricky thing because you have to weigh up, do I want my shelf to look awesome, or am I happy with owning this thing 2 or 3 times already? Now, for me, it's normally the artwork that sells it initially, but then I think to myself, because I did that myself with these Steelbooks, I picked up the first 3 or 4 of them. I think I've got the first 4, or did I miss the first one? I can't remember. I've got 3 or 4 of them, and initially I thought, wow, Lee Binding's artwork is amazing. It's really cool. And then I realised that on my shelf I only see the spine. So unless every single time somebody comes round to my house, like, Dad, come over here. This is Series 2. Badass. This is Series 3. Awesome. This is Series 4. Very good. And he's like, so when's the last time you watched these then? I'm like, well, I haven't watched these yet. And he's like, what do you mean you haven't watched them? You've bought them. I was like, yeah, but I own them over here. Well, why have you bought them? You know, my dad's like that anyway, but it's that kind of thing. So if you want to double dip, go ahead, man. The only thing that would absolutely 100% make me double dip is if it was a new release that had extra stuff on it that the others didn't. So if they brought out a new version that had extra special features, some more stuff, then I probably would. But if the content is exactly the same, it's just the cover art or something that's different, then I don't do that anymore. And the very few Blu-ray box set steelbooks ones that I've got, I'm probably going to eBay them anyway and just stick with the ones that I had initially. Sammy says it's good having them on CD. It's great having a physical copy that is already a backup. Yeah, there is the backup thing. But the thing is, that's not really a thing either, because CDs have a finite life anyway. Certainly more than enough probably for someone's lifetime. Actually, yeah, it's probably fine. But yeah, I mean, that's no guarantee, Sammy, having a physical CD as a backup, because heaven forbid, touch wood, nothing happens. But, you know, if your house burnt down, then really it's the other way round. The digital version that you've got in the app or in the Apple Music app or whatever it is, that's your backup, really. So I think of it as the other way around. Doctor Who show, yeah, my last 2 cars haven't had CD players. Exactly right, that's what I'm talking about. So even cars now are moving away from CD players. You just plug your phone in, or it's got Apple CarPlay, whatever, built in, whatever. So you can't listen to a physical CD in newer cars anyway. G Smith, Series 9. You meant Series 9. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So it's up to you, man. If it's something that you as a collector, don't double dip and buy Blu-rays, steelbooks and stuff as a watcher, because you probably own them, which is why you asked about double dipping. But as a collector, that's a different story. If you want to buy them as a collector, then go ahead, man. Sammy says, I know I listen to the digital download on the app, but I like having the CDs. Yeah, that's the thing, man. I think that CDs is like a nostalgic thing for some people. A bit like people from the generation before us. It was like vinyl records. Having them now is a nice nostalgia thing. And I love vinyl. I really do. And CDs, it's almost the same thing. And you also have a lot of current bands that bring out some of their albums on cassette tape, because it's a novelty, nostalgic kind of thing. So CDs, although they're not that old, it is starting to creep into that nostalgic kind of thing. So I know a lot of people love CDs and stuff like that. And it's also cool to have the booklet and read through that. Somebody spent the time to actually design a proper booklet and, all that stuff. So it is cool. It is cool to a degree, but horses for courses. TARDISnet, I'm in a minority in my generation. I will cling to physical releases for everything as long as I live. Do you know what, dude? That's cool. Like I said, man, that's cool. If that's your thing, then go for your life. Pick up the double dip and pick up the re-releases on Blu-rays or Steels, whatever. Pick up the Big Finish physicals. It's all good. Just know that as time goes on, especially for Big Finish, that's probably going to start to dwindle away, the physical stuff. So just sort of mentally prepare yourself. It's not going to be, shelves full of stuff as we progress through the years. Sounds very deep and philosophical, this conversation, but yes. But it's 11:30 here in the UK. And I said I'd do this for an hour. We're half an hour over, but it has been, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been amazing hanging out with all of you. And thank you so much for stopping by in the first place. As I said earlier, every single time I do these live streams, I just assume that it's going to be me talking into nothingness. So it's great that you're all here, and it's been great to catch up with a few of you. There's been a couple of you that we should talk more regularly, and we don't. So the Doctor Who show podcast, the Lost on Gallifrey, the Lost on Gallifrey, you guys, you send in reviews, that's all great, but we don't really talk. Doctor Who show, those guys, and a few others of you a few others that are in the chat today. So this is great. I know I said last time I was going to try and do these regularly, and I will try and stick to this because it's been really fun. It's been really cool just to have no agenda and just hang out and you guys chat about Doctor Who and stuff and all that. So it's been really cool. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming and hanging out and spending your time to do this. Any of you that are after recommendations, go through the chat and pick out all of the other Doctor Who podcasts that are on. Go and check those guys out. And I think most of you listen or sometimes listen to our show. But just to wrap up, I am Gary from the Big Blue Box podcast. We have a new show that goes out every single Friday. So go over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and listen to all the shows there and read all the awesome reviews and articles from our writing team, Mark, Jordan, and Maria. And also follow us on whatever podcast app you get your podcasts on. So it's been fun. So thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great one. Stay safe and healthy. And I will see you next time. Cheers.